Hi, welcome to the channel Jane Reads. My name is Jeanette. So today I'm going to talk about my top 5 contemporary romance authors. I did a video last month with my top 5 suspense authors, so I thought, well, let's carry that on and go into the contemporary romance genre that I really enjoy. So the first 4 authors I'm going to talk about are all Christian fiction authors. The last author is not considered a Christian fiction author, however, her books are clean. So I'm going to start with kind of the authors that I've read the most from, and then the fifth author will be the one I have actually read the most from, but I want to do the Christian fiction ones first. So the first author I'm going to mention is Courtney Walsh. The first book I ever read by her was Paper Hearts, but I read this in 2015. It reminded me so much of the movie Letters to Juliet that I just absolutely adored. So it's not the same theme, it's not the same setting. It just, how do I explain? Kind of the concept of the paper heart letters and the letters in Juliet, it just reminded me so much of it. I just really enjoyed it. So after reading that book, I had to see what else she had. Since then, I have now read 15 of her books. The only book I have not read is her most recent release, which is called What Matters Most. It was just released in April, so I haven't got to it yet, but it is on my list. My favorite of all the books I've read, as much as I enjoyed Paper Hearts, my favorite has been Just One Kiss, which is book number 3 of her Harbor Point series. Now, she's another author that, yes, she writes some series books, but they do not have to be read as series. They can easily be read as standalones. They are just set in the same town, same community, or they focus on people that have been mentioned in previous books. In this book, I quickly became hooked with the characters and did not want to put it down. While I understood Carly's anger at Josh and why she doubted his sincerity, I was cheering for Josh to be able to earn Carly's forgiveness. The more I got to know Josh, the harder I fell for him. Now, this is kind of a second chance romance book. So Carly and Josh were a couple at one point. Something happened, and they're no longer a couple, and now he's back and wants to kind of try again. So I really enjoyed that book. So then the next author I'm going to talk about is Becky Wade. The first book I ever read from her was My Stubborn Heart. I read this in 2012, and it is on my TBR for June. So I hope to get to it this month to kind of reread it, and will I enjoy it as much as I did the first time around. Since reading that book, I have read 11 books by her. I do need to catch up and read the remaining 2 books in the Misty River Romance series. Now book 3 just released, I think it was May. I'm pretty sure it was the beginning of May, but I haven't read book 2 yet. I do own book 2, I need to get book 3. And then I plan on reading 1, 2, and 3 because that's the way I read. I really enjoy kind of reading series back to back, staying in the same community. So that's my plan. My favorite of her books that I've read so far has definitely been the Bradford Sisters series. So there's 3 books in this series plus a prequel novella. Now, I am not one that normally enjoys novellas, but I got this one and I absolutely loved it. The prequel is called Then Came You, and it is in a told, like it reads, as a series of letters and journal entries. And it's from the father. I'm pretty sure it's from the father's perspective. And I loved it, and it was a great intro to the sisters. So then in the books 1, 2, and 3, each book focuses on one of the 3 sisters. The sisters are very unique, very different from one another, so each story is unique. And the setting of the town of Merriweather just was so charming. And each time I picked up a next book, I felt like I was returning back to this just charming village. I highly recommend reading this series in order because you will fall in love with the town and the sisters, and you follow while each book is focused on that sister. There are stuff from the previous book that gets brought up or gets revealed or gets talked about. So I think you definitely need to read this series in order. But that's a personal opinion. Other people might disagree with me. So then the next author is Liz Johnson. I first discovered Liz Johnson in 2013 through a love-inspired suspense book. The first contemporary romance book I read by her was The Red Door Inn in 2016. Since then, I have read 8 of her contemporary romance books. My favorites have definitely been what's this one called? The Georgia Coast Romance series. So there is A Sparkle of Silver, A Glitter of Gold, and A Dazzle of Diamonds. So these stories are set in the present day, but each of the main characters goes digging into the past. And so it's not a dual timeline story, but you are finding out events that have happened like 100 years ago. I was really digging it. It is very romance heavy. However, there's also the mystery and searching for the treasure, and I was hooked. I just loved them. My favorites are definitely The Sparkle of Silver and The Dazzle of Diamonds. I gave both these 5 stars. Book number 2, The Glitter of Gold, I only gave 4. But I mean, 4 is still pretty good in my book, I think. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this. She does have another series in progress. Book 1 is Beyond the Tides, which is set in PEI, and it released last August. And then she has book number 2 coming out this August. I can't remember the title of it. I'll insert a picture here, but I can't remember what it's called. But I pre-ordered book 1, and I very rarely pre-order books, but it's on my Kindle. And so I pre-ordered it, and then I read it like probably within a month of me receiving it, which is actually pretty good. And I love this. I mean, I love the setting of PEI. And just, again, it's a romance mixed in with a mystery, or mystery mixed in with a romance, however you want to say that. And so then book 2, I can't wait to get. So then the 4th author is Teresa Tysinger? Teresa Tysinger? I'm not 100% sure how to say that. So I was introduced to her through the book Someplace Familiar in 2018. This is book 1 of the Laurel Cove series. And in this book, Jack and Livy have a past that their past have left them broken, and with no interest getting involved with anyone. The themes throughout this book are learning to forgive and trusting God. And Jack and Livy don't have a past together. Events have happened in each of their pasts that have left them broken and kind of not struggling to kind of move past that and try again. So there is 4 books in this series. Book 4 released in February, and again, it was another book I pre-ordered, but sadly I haven't got to it yet. That book is Say It's for Good, and all 4 books can be read as standalones. The only thing is their setting, like they all 4 take place in Laurel Cove. So book number 2 is called Suddenly Forever, And book number 3 is Someone Found. Her writing style has just drawn me in. The characters. Now, I've only read 3 books by this author because she only has 3 full-length books out. She has written a few novellas, but as I've mentioned, I'm not a huge novella fan, so I haven't read, I think I've read one of the ones she has out. But it's not, just because it's by my author, I don't go for it a lot of times because I just know that novellas are not my thing. So then the last author I'm going to talk about is Shanna Hatfield. Now, she is the one that is not Christian fiction based. So there, you don't really find much faith in the stories, but they are clean romances. So romance does happen, but you don't, I mean, other than a few kisses and stuff, you're not getting details of anything. Her characters aren't sleeping around and stuff. Like, it just, they're very clean. So she also writes contemporary and historical fiction. So right now I'm just going to talk about her contemporary books in this video. The first book I ever read by her was The Coffee Girl. I read this in 2015, and I fell in love with Shanna's writing style and the sarcasm that she throws into the books. After reading this one, I immediately picked up another one by her called Learning the Ropes. I just fell in love with her, and it was like I couldn't get enough of her writing. Since 2015, I have read 28 books that are the contemporary romance settings. As I mentioned, she does write historical, so I have read others, quite a few others, but I'll talk about those in a separate video. So majority of her books are available through Kindle Unlimited, and that's how I've got most of them. And a lot of them are series based and Western cowboy type, ranch type theme stories. So it is so, out of those 28 books, it has been so hard for me to choose kind of a favorite or 2 favorites. I have marked 10 of those 28 as 5 stars and 11 of them as 4 stars. So I'm going to talk about kind of my favorite series overall out of the contemporary romance ones I've read. So my favorite series by her has been Rodeo Romance. There are 8 books in this series. 4 of those 8 I have marked 5 stars. 3 of them I've marked 4, and 1 I gave 3 stars to. So 1 I didn't enjoy as much as all the others. But sometimes it depends on the characters, right? Sometimes you fall in love with certain characters and other ones you just don't connect with. So this series focuses on people involved with the rodeo. So for example, one book, the main character is a rodeo clown. One book, the main character is a steer roper. One book, the main character is a bronco rider. One book, the main character is the rodeo photographer. And so like they are the main people. And most of them, because they're all from like all different parts of the United States, mainly kind of Western, like Minnesota, Montana, Dakotas, that kind of like that region of the States, right? And then they're traveling to various rodeos, or Oregon, I guess, is really kind of a big part of it. They're traveling to various rodeos. So Cecilia, for example, could be from here, and I just lost his name. Jack, I can't remember his name now, is from Oregon, for example. But because they're traveling to these rodeos all the time, they're interacting on a regular basis. And it's not just these 2 people. There's probably at least 10 people, if not more. And so you get to know the characters throughout. So again, like a TV show, I like to watch in order or read in order to kind of get to know the characters, get to know the backstory, and how different people are connected. And that's my thing. So series are great for me. I love it when they carry over. So yeah, I really, really enjoy Shanna's books. They're approximately, so I think they're kind of not quite, they're not, I would not consider them novellas, but they're also not really full-length books. I think the average is kind of 275 to 325 pages, somewhere around there. I'm reading on my Kindle, so I'm not 100% sure on the length, but I fall in love with the characters every time. And each time she comes out with a new book in a series, I want to go back and read from the beginning. I don't always, because, I mean, there's 8 books in this series, so when book 9 does get released, that's a lot to go through to catch up. But I mean, there's certain ones, like book 1 of this series, I've read twice already. And you'll find I really, as much as I enjoy her contemporary, her historical is kind of where it's at for me. But I really do enjoy her contemporary. So that's why I've included her in this video. So basically, those are kind of my 5 auto-buy authors for me. I do have a couple honorable mentions that I've enjoyed some of their contemporary romance books, or like I've enjoyed a lot of their contemporary romance books, but then there's also been books that have been a kind of a miss for me, which I think is very, very common, right? So kind of the 2 that I want to mention are Sarah Monzon. I absolutely loved her book, The Isaac Project. And I do plan on talking about that soon, so I'm not going to really say much about it. But there have been a couple other, like I've enjoyed a couple books from her, and then there's a couple that just are not really being my cup of tea. So the other author is Carla Lorando. She is the author of The 5 Days in Skye, which is on my June TBR, so I'm not going to talk about it here because I do plan on reading it this month and talking about it in my June wrap-up. So those are my top 5 auto-buy authors for contemporary romance. Have you read any of these? Do you enjoy these authors? Or are there other authors that you really enjoyed for romance and that I might need to read from? Read from. So I'd love if you would put it in the comments below and let's talk about who our favorite authors are. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.